This is gonna be short. Hey everybody, it's Matt. Welcome back to the channel. And today we got something a little bit different. So it might take a little bit of extra time, just a tiny bit, because the sample I was supposed to review will not arrive for a couple days for a fresh review. So I decided to ask Instagram to look at a picture of my closet, which I posted, my archive, if you will, and pick a bottle. And let's dive back into the old history books of wrestling with whiskey and let's review something. One of the options chosen by somebody was a Bardstown Bourbon Company Discovery bottle. And I said, ooh, that's interesting because it happened to be my favorite one, the one they were pointing at. And it was Bardstown Bourbon Company Discovery number 3. It's awesome. This is the first time they introduced Indiana whiskey. So it definitely had that kind of nice, spicy, high rye Indiana bourbon taste we know, and it added a nice rounded spicy edge to the beautifully aged Kentucky bourbons in there, 110 proof, which is perfect for someone like me. So this not so much a review of the bottle as it was or is, because you get this bottle. This is one of the best ones you can find. It's so good. So there's the review. I loved it. This is going to be a little bit more about oxygen. Now, if you go check out someone like Tater Talk and Wade Woodard, he did a fantastic study with blind tasters testing a bottle that was half empty a year later, a full year later, and there was almost zero discernible result. And I've had that experience time and time again, but this bottle has been sitting at this low fill level probably for 6-7 months because I drank a lot of it at first, probably at about that halfway point, and then I wanted to nurse it because it meant a lot to me. And obviously it's signed, it's extra special to me. But I've left it like this about 6-8 months. And when you leave that much room and that just over time, we're talking years. We are now little over 2 years since this was released. So this isn't like, oh, 3 weeks later, it's so oxygenated. That doesn't happen, folks. Sorry, the science just doesn't back it up. It's not like wine. But over the course of years, things do change. But I haven't touched this in a long time. And I want to see if it lights up, or if I want to see if my brain brings me some kind of differentiation, or if it's what I'm thinking, basically. So we're going to dive into a pseudo review of how Bardstown Bourbon Company Discovery number 3, my favorite of the series, haven't had the last 2, I'm excited to try them, holds up at a nearly empty bottle without tasting it for 6-8 months. Let's see if this oxygen thing really has a difference. So first we nose, and then the nose is excellent. Don't know if it's my brain playing tricks. It seems a little rougher around the edges than when I first enjoyed it. A little more like astringency, just a little bit. But you still get the palate, like the nose, the lovely, the caramels and the black pepper spice. It's all underneath there, but there's a little bit of this like wave of just like rough kind of astringency. You know what I mean? Let's take a sip. Ooh, that spice comes through so nice. And that proof, this is my first sip of the day, but lights you up, doesn't kill you to 110. Thank you, Bardstown. It's picture perfect proof. Beautiful caramels, nice hint of floral touches from that high rye Indiana bourbon. All the edges are rounded off though, because everything in this, all 3 whiskeys, only 3, there's not like 4 or 5 like in other Discovery blends, are over 10 years old. 10 or 13 are the 2 ages, stated on the bottle. And it's really nice. I do feel like there's a tiny little bit of like the whiskey version of like gristle. I like these rough edges at the very like end of the finish, but really, really minimal. It was more noticeable in the palate than it was on the, on the nose than it was on the palate. Yeah, you get a little bit of like a extra, like there's a tiny, I feel like there's the tiniest bit of like extra bitterness on the beginning of the sip too. like the beginnings and ends, or there's this little like gristly bitterness, but in the meat of the palate is still beautiful warm corn, caramel, brown sugars, like nice crispy burnt brown sugar in such a good way. That little bit of that floral spice, it's all there. Like that has not dissipated. There's just a little bit of a weird rough edge, but honestly, you probably add a little bit of water or just sip it, and within seconds you're back to the old taste. So that's good. Lingering, beautifully spicy finish. Mildly fruity, a little bit of like plum or stone fruit in there. Really, really nice. Melts all the way down your gullet, like in a very nice way. So we're talking, folks, if you're ever worried about that stuff, like I said, I think there are teeny tiny discernible differences, right? But this is, and again, this is not some elaborately edited produced. Look, I'm showing you the bottle that I poured it out of. That is what it's been sitting at for 8 months. And I've had this bottle since it was released in 2020. We are in 2022 now, and almost near the end of it. And that is still the same quality whiskey it was when they put the bottle into my hands. You know what I mean? There is no discernible difference in the actual taste, the palate. There might be a little hint of like a bitter astringency kind of thing, just like a tiny bit right at the beginning that like, but underneath it is all the same beautiful character. So if you're worried, you can always put it, if you want to, you could always put it in a smaller sample bottle. Like I could probably put this into a 200 milliliter bottle or something like that, seal it up tight. Those things like that are option. People do things like the wine resealers that suck the oxygen out. Seems extreme if you're going to dip into the bottle every couple weeks or every couple months. So the moral of the story is overall, I haven't done anything, no precautionary work. I just keep it in a closet. That's my most, keep it out of direct sunlight. If there's anything, direct light is a worse thing to happen to your bottle, to your whiskey, than air ever will be. Remember, these whiskeys are sitting in barrel exposed to the temperatures for years and years and years, wind and rain, all these things coming through the rick house for years and years and years, and it doesn't make the whiskey worse. So why would sitting in your bottle really make it that much worse? So don't freak out too much about it, especially with whiskey. It's strong. It's oaky. It's got the roots of America to keep the taste going year after year. So drink, enjoy, or hold on to a couple sips. A couple months from now, it'll be just fine. That's all. Hit like, hit subscribe. Algorithms, people. I need them. I need them to survive. So 1 like, 1 comment, and 1 subscribe that takes you 4 seconds means a life blood to me. So do it. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week with a new review.